If you have seen Terror on the Prairie, and if you haven't, you should, you may have noticed that there was a madman running through the prairie, cutting the tops of people's heads off, scalping people, terrorizing Gina Caro. And that, of course, was the great Nick Searcy, a terrific actor you've probably seen in Castaway and the Oscar-winning Shape of Water, and of course in Justified, one of my favorite TV shows ever, and now in Terror on the Prairie. Nick, it's great to see you.
Great to be here, Andrew. It's an honor to be in that movie.
It was really, I have to say, I love the minimalist thing and the no music. It was really intense. And how did you learn how to scalp someone? That's what. Is there a special?
You just do what they say. Put this there, put that there, and then lift up on it, and it'll all work.
They don't have like a technical director come in. It's like, no, all right.
Right. Don't make sure you aren't laughing when you do it. Serious moment.
So I'm always really interested in acting technique and the way people create these characters. And you took this character who does nothing through the entire movie but terrorize a woman and her children. And normally when I see a character like that, I'm just waiting for him to get the bullet in the head, But you actually made this guy a complete human being. You were reading the script, you think, oh, I play a guy who's terrorizing a woman and children. Where do you begin? How do you get into that character?
Well, I've played a lot of bad guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine why.
I started out, it's sort of, I got my first break was maybe Fried Green Tomatoes, where I played like a wife-beating Klansman, or whatever. And so I played a lot of wife-beating Klansmen after that.
It's just the look you have.
For a while.
Something about you, yeah.
But, when I was working on Fried Green Tomatoes, I met the great Jessica Tandy.
Oh, yeah.
And I met her in the bus just one day, had one exchange with her, and she said, "Who do you play, dear?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Frank Bennett." And she said, "Oh my goodness, the bad guy." Yeah. And I said, "Well, I don't know. My wife's been cheating on me. I think I got kind of an argument here." And she said, "Well, that's the way you have to look at it." And so that's really what it is. It's like people who are bad guys don't think they're bad.
Yep.
They think they're doing the right thing.
Right.
So in Terror, what I did is I looked for what is the heart of that character. Why is he doing what he's doing?
Yeah.
And it's because they murdered his daughter.
Right.
Or that's how he sees it.
Yeah.
So he's doing the right thing. He's getting rid of all the people who murdered his innocent little daughter.
Yep. So, one of the things that struck me, some of our audience obviously complained about the fact that you quote, the evil guy quotes the Bible a lot. But I really like that because I know it's kind of a Hollywood thing that they make the bad guy religious. But you played this character as if he were the wreckage of a better person, like he could have been a better person, but this hatred in his heart. And you're surrounded by these kind of gibbering maniacs, and you don't like them either. Do you think about that, or do you just find your way to that?
Well, no, it definitely was, there's a line in the movie that my character says that always stuck with me, which is, God takes too damn long. And that to me, that was the heart of that disconnect.
Yeah.
He was obviously somebody who knew the moral code, who had lived by it for some of his life, but he lost it.
Yeah.
When tragedy happened to him, like happened to Job, and he did not react to that in the way he was supposed to, the way the Bible tells you you're supposed to. And so that's easy to do, and that's a lot of people do that. And that's what I thought was important about the film, is that you can't just go around pretending that there aren't people who misuse and misunderstand Scripture.
Right.
That doesn't make the Scripture bad. And so I thought that was a very interesting element of the character.
Yeah, it's in the, when Shakespeare says the devil can quote Scripture to his purposes, and in the Bible he actually does. That actually happens in the Gospels. Yeah. So you're working with Gina Caro. I only got to meet her yesterday. What a lovely person. She's just a really nice person.
So much fun to work with. Such a lovely, genuine person. Yeah. And just a real joy to scare to death and terrorize and try to kill her husband in front of her and all that. It was great.
I knew you'd enjoy that. I thought at least Nick is having a good time.
Yeah. Well, it's like, after Fried Green Tomatoes, I kept getting parts where I beat up women. And I got to worrying about it, and I went to my wife at one point and said, "Why do you think I get all these parts where I beat up women?" And Leslie said, "Well, you don't look like you could beat up a man."
Always good to consult your wife on these matters.
Yeah. I don't look like I could beat up Gina either.
Well, that is the thing. She's so nice where she could kill you.
That's right. That's right. It was good I had a gun.
Yeah, that's right. I also like the fact in the movie there's a lot of shooting and missing, which I think must have happened with those weapons.
You bet. I mean, that's part of it. I heard some people complaining about that.
No.
They were really terrible shots. It's like, well, they weren't exactly making Glock 9 millimeters in 1875. It was the machinery. It's like golf clubs back then were bad too. You can't play with those.
Yeah, the laser. They hadn't got that laser beam. Right. So Justified, one of my favorite shows, and you were terrific in it. And you played a good guy, but there is a scene that I've never forgotten it because it made me sit up. I think it was before I even met you, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a scene in it where you're sitting in a car, you're on stakeout, and you're listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I just remember thinking, how the hell did he get that in there? Now, was that you, or was that, and I'm asking it for a reason, I'm not just asking about that one.
Well, you know what it was Rush Limbaugh was a big fan of Justified. And he would talk about it on his show, and I would get excited. And then one day he mentioned me by name on the show. He said, one of my favorite characters came back in the season last night, Nick Searcy, and I'm like, my phone blew up. I'm friends with David Limbaugh on Twitter. I'm like, does he want to talk to me? Does he want me to come on? So I went on the Rush Limbaugh show. That was back during season 4.
Okay.
And did a 12-minute segment. I was on longer than Dick Cheney. And but anyway,
Justified was a better show. Right?
That's right. And so, it just, he talked about how much he liked the show. It wasn't about politics. It was,
right.
And then a couple, after that interview, some of the writers, I was in the van going to the set when one of the writers was there, and he said, we listened to your Rush Limbaugh interview in the writer's room. I said, oh, did you really? He goes, I said, what'd you think? He said, well, it was pretty good. I said, yeah, I'm bringing back that audience that you guys have been systematically driving away for 40 years. And so the writers wrote it in. They just said, it makes sense that my character, a marshal in Kentucky, would listen to Rush Limbaugh. So they just put it in. And I told Rush when I talked to him about it, I said, I think that's the first time that you've ever been used in a television show where the guy who was listening to you wasn't a bad guy.
It was genuinely startling, and the reason I bring it up is I want to know: do you think that anyone would do that today?
No,
it has changed.
Absolutely
right?
not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, the demonization has gotten worse and worse, and the split in Hollywood is now, I think, it's irreparable.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to so many actor friends of mine. I won't say their names, but the whole vaccine mandate stuff and how they've made this decree that no one can work on a set as an actor if you aren't vaccinated. Mm-hmm. There's so many people who have really had their eyes opened by that, and you're either on one side or the other on that. There's no middle ground there. If someone's telling you, you have to do this or you're not eligible to work in this industry, and the other person says, I don't want to do that, you can't, there's no way back from there.
The other thing that has happened, and I'm getting this, secondhand, but I mean, one of my best agents retired because his entire stable of writers was out of work because they were white.
That's
and
true.
This racialism that has come in that's actually mandated by some of the unions and guilds, where they say you have to have a certain number. And I know people who've had black writers assigned to their projects and told he doesn't have to do anything, just put his name on the project, which I find so demeaning and degrading to the black writer. I mean, it's just how do you still manage? Can you manage? I mean, you're
well, I think in some ways I've been fortunate in that I was not smart enough to realize early on that I should keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I'll say.
So I just sort of, by the time I learned it was too late. It's like, okay, I'm already out there. What I'm going to do, renounce my, my. But I think in my case, what happened to me is that some people hire me because of who I am. Some people come, and I have relationships with people, artistic relationships with people who've worked with me before, and they'll bring me back again because they know me and they don't care about the politics. So in some ways it's been an enhancement for me because I haven't had to work with too many people that hate my guts.
Yeah.
And and I've still been able to do quality projects, and and do the things that I want to do. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm sent by my agent, I read it and I don't want to do it. I mean, it's either not very challenging or it's just another white racist guy. You know, it's like, I don't want to do that. I've played enough Democrats.
But is there really any other kind?
Right.
No, I mean, I think that it's painful to watch because, first of all, TV has gotten bad, you know, and movies have gotten bad. And I think most of it is this woke stuff. You started making your own films, some of them. I mean, is that something you want to keep doing?
Yeah, I have been. I mean, you know, I did Gosnell, which you wrote and directed that, and then the last couple of years I've been making some documentaries. That during COVID, 2020, I made one documentary called "God Shed His Grace on Thee," about the Bible and the Constitution and how they've diverged over the years. And then, you know, 2021, I made a film called "Capital Punishment" about the January 6th event that, in my opinion, has been lied about, and trying to correct the record on that. So, that's an aspect of my life that I want to continue doing. I've kind of reached that point in my life where it's like, I don't just want a job. You know, I don't really need it. I want to do, but I want to do things with people that, you know, I enjoy working with, and I want to work on things that are meaningful to me. Right. And so that's really what I'm looking for.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was thinking of all the great things that you were in. I actually, Gosnell slipped my mind. I mean, because you were great in that too. You played the prosecutor in that.
I couldn't get a big star to do that part, so I had to do it myself.
No, it was good. And it turned out, you know, working with what you had, you did a really good job.
It turned out very, very well. Yeah. And you know, people still talk to me about that movie. It's just it's so unique. Yeah. It was a singular event. Right. You know, that a movie like that, it's hard to make. Yeah. Hard to get the money and hard to get it distributed because they tried to shut Gosnell down and keep it out of the theaters. Yeah. And the way they do that is they just don't talk about it. Yeah. There were like 11 reviews of Gosnell. And normally a movie gets 200.
I know.
We got 11.
Yeah. No, my novels went from getting like 300 reviews to one in one book.
Yeah. Because and that's what's so important about what the Daily Wire's doing, getting into the entertainment business, because distribution has been the most difficult thing.
That's it.
How do you reach the audience if the gatekeepers in Hollywood won't let your content be shown because they disagree with your politics? Right. You've got to build your own.
You know, when people who talk to me about this, I get a lot of calls from people who say, I'm going to start a conservative movie-making company, but we're going to go beneath the radar. And I say, the radar goes down to the ground. You're not going beneath anything. Right. And what you were saying before, that by being outspoken, you have actually found friends as well as lost them. I used to read your Twitter feed and laugh until I cried. I mean, your Twitter, you just used to rip people. I mean, it was like brutal.
It's a knife fight.
I would read it like through my fingers, you know, because I hated to watch the blood. Was that a strategy, or was that just you? You just had it?
Well, if it's a strategy, it was a dumb one. But no, it's just me. I mean, and it was like, I kept telling people for a long time, my Twitter feed is just like an improv class. I'm just coming up with crazy insults, you know, and just having some fun. But after a while, you know, it just becomes like, okay, you're showing people, you're exhibiting behavior that, like, this is how you stand up to a bully. Yeah. You know, you don't apologize. You make fun of them worse. You know, I argue with people on Twitter all the time about, we've got to be better than them. And I go, no, I'm going to be worse. I'm going to be worse than they are, and see how they like that.
Now, did people know, at what point in Hollywood, in your career, did people catch on that this was who you were? Was that like right away? I mean, did you always, early pictures, did you actually say, you know, well, I'm on another side?
Well, the conversation didn't come up as often.
That's right.
When I first started. And so that's what I mean. It's like every once in a while when it came up, I would say what I thought. Yeah. And then I started realizing, that everybody doesn't agree with me. You know, I thought I was just saying common sense. Right? But yeah, it got worse. I mean, and I think that during the Bush years is when I really noticed that it was a real thing. Because when Bush got reelected, I was working on a show and we had a table read the next day. and it was a comedy. And one of the actors said, thankfully, there were a couple other people on the show that felt like I did, so we weren't alone. But we were kind of not rubbing it in, but just sort of, boy, that was great, huh? You know. And there was an actress there who basically said at the table read, I hung my head out the window on the way to work today and said, I wish somebody would assassinate him. And I'm like, you know, that's not really legal for you to say that. And there's also a lot of people that agree with that sentiment, and they kind of are called terrorists, and you know. So it's like at that point I realized, okay, this is like some really weird, deep-seated hatred, which I was not expecting. Everything up to that point, I thought, well, we have political disagreements, but we don't want to kill each other, do we?
Apparently we do.
Yeah, apparently we do.
I got to stop there, but it's a great performance in Terror on the Prairie. It really is, and it's only one of the many great performances you've turned in. But there's something special about it, the way you made that man, that horrible person, a person, and it's just an amazing talent. I appreciate it.
Well, it meant a lot to me, and it was a great, great opportunity, and I'm thankful to Jeremy and Dallas Saunier for giving me that and Gina, who was kind of my champion. I'm so grateful to them for giving me that opportunity, because it was, I felt like finally I've gotten a role that I can really fulfill, and that will fulfill me as well.
That was great. Yeah. Nick, it's always great talking to you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks
Great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
If you enjoy this content, and I know you do, like and subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.